The Battle of Imphal, which took place from March to July 1944, is one of the most significant yet lesser-known battles of World War II. It was a crucial turning point in the Burma campaign, where Allied forces, primarily composed of British and Indian troops, successfully halted the Japanese advance into India. The battle is notable for its intense combat, strategic importance, and the extraordinary resilience shown by the Allied forces under extremely challenging conditions. In early 1944, the Japanese Imperial Army, under the command of Lieutenant General Renya Mutaguchi, launched Operation Yugo, a major offensive aimed at capturing the British-held city of Imphal in Manipur, northeastern India. This operation was part of a broader strategy to invade India, encourage Indian nationalists, and cut off Allied supply lines to China. The Japanese hoped that a decisive victory in Imphal would undermine British control in India and boost the morale of the Indian National Army, INA, led by Subhas Chandra Bose, which was allied with the Japanese. Imphal, situated in a valley surrounded by hills, was a critical logistical hub for the Allied forces in the region. Its capture would have allowed the Japanese to disrupt supply routes and create a staging ground for further advances into India. The defense of Imphal was therefore of paramount importance to the Allies, who were determined to prevent the Japanese from gaining a foothold in India. The Allied forces in Imphal were under command of Lieutenant General William Slim, who led the British 14th Army. Slim was a highly respected and capable commander, known for his strategic acumen and ability to inspire his troops. The defense of Imphal was coordinated by Major General Geoffrey Scoones, who commanded the Four Corps, which included the Indian 17th Infantry Division, the British 23rd Infantry Division, and the Indian 20th Infantry Division. The battle began in March 1944, when Japanese forces launched a series of attacks aimed at encircling Imphal and cutting off the Allied supply lines. The Japanese strategy involved three main thrusts. From the north, the 15th Division under Lieutenant General Masafumi Yamauchi; from the east, the 33rd Division under Lieutenant General Nobuo Tanaka; and from the south, the 31st Division under Lieutenant General Kotoku Sato. These forces were supplemented by units of the INA, who played a significant role in the Japanese plans. The initial phase of the battle saw fierce fighting as Japanese troops attempted to penetrate the Allied defenses. Despite being outnumbered and facing supply shortages, the Allied forces managed to hold their ground through a combination of determined resistance and effective use of air power. The Royal Air Force (RAF) played a crucial role in the defense of Imphal, providing air cover, conducting reconnaissance missions, and airdropping supplies to the besieged troops. One of the most intense engagements of the battle occurred at Sangshak, a village northeast of Imphal. In late March, the Japanese 31st Division attacked the British 50th Indian Parachute Brigade, which had been tasked with holding the village. The paratroopers, under the command of Brigadier Maxwell Hope Thompson, fought valiantly despite being heavily outnumbered. After several days of brutal combat, the brigade was forced to withdraw, but their resistance had significantly delayed the Japanese advance, allowing the Allies to strengthen their defenses around Imphal. As the battle progressed, the Japanese forces faced increasing logistical challenges. The difficult terrain, combined with the onset of the monsoon season, severely hampered their supply lines. The Allies, on the other hand, benefited from a well-organized logistical network and effective use of air supply. The RAF's ability to airdrop supplies and reinforcements to the beleaguered troops at Imphal was a decisive factor in the battle. In early April, the Japanese 15th Division launched a major assault on the British 23rd Infantry Division at the village of Kohima, located on the road connecting Imphal to Dimapur, a key supply base. The Battle of Kohima, which lasted from April to June, was closely linked to the Battle of Imphal, as the two battles formed continuous front. The fighting at Kohima was marked by intense close-quarters combat, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. The infamous tennis court battle, where British and Indian troops defended the remains of the district commissioner's bungalow against relentless Japanese attacks, became a symbol of the ferocity and determination of the Allied defense. By mid-April, the Japanese had managed to encircle Imphal, cutting off all land routes to the city. The Allies were now entirely dependent on air supply, and the RAF rose to the challenge, conducting one of the largest and most sustained air supply operations of the war. Despite adverse weather conditions and constant threat from Japanese fighters, the RAF's Dakota transport aircraft flew numerous missions, delivering essential supplies, ammunition, and reinforcements to the besieged troops. Throughout May and June, the Allies launched several counterattacks to break the Japanese encirclement and reopen the supply lines. The fighting was intense, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. The Indian 17th Infantry Division, known as the Black Cat Division, played a crucial role in these operations, demonstrating exceptional bravery and resilience. The division's successful counterattacks at places like Nungshigam and Bishanpur were instrumental in relieving the pressure on Imphal. As the monsoon rains intensified, the conditions for the Japanese forces became increasingly dire. Their supply lines were stretched to the breaking point, and disease, malnutrition, and exhaustion took a heavy toll on their troops. The Allies, on the other hand, were able to maintain their supply lines through the continuous efforts of the RAF and the determination of their ground forces. In July, the Allies launched a major offensive to break the Japanese siege once and for all. The British 2nd Division, along with elements of the Indian 5th and 23rd Divisions, mounted a coordinated assault on the Japanese positions around Imphal. The offensive, supported by heavy artillery and airstrikes, succeeded in breaking the Japanese lines and forcing them into a full retreat. The lifting of the siege of Imphal marked a decisive victory for the Allies. The Japanese forces, now in disarray, were pursued relentlessly by the Allied troops, who inflicted further heavy casualties. The remnants of the Japanese divisions retreated across the Chindwin River, suffering devastating losses in the process. The successful defense of Imphal and the subsequent Allied counteroffensive effectively ended the Japanese threat to India and marked a turning point in the Burma campaign. The Battle of Imphal had significant strategic and psychological implications. It demonstrated the effectiveness of Allied air supply operations and the resilience of the British and Indian troops under extreme conditions. The victory also boosted the morale of the Allied forces and the local population, strengthening their resolve to continue the fight against the Japanese. For the Japanese, the defeat at Imphal was a major blow. It exposed the limitations of their logistical capabilities and the vulnerabilities of their extended supply lines. The failure of Operation Yugo marked the beginning of the decline of Japanese military power in Southeast Asia and foreshadowed their eventual defeat in the region. The battle also had a profound impact on the Indian National Army, INA. The heavy losses suffered by the INA units during the battle weakened their military capability and morale. The defeat at Imphal, along with subsequent Allied victories in Burma, diminished the INA's ability to achieve its goal of liberating India from British rule through military means. In the aftermath of the Battle of Imphal, the Allies continued their advance into Burma, eventually leading to the recapture of Rangoon in May 1945. The victory at Imphal was a crucial step in this broader campaign, contributing significantly to the eventual Allied success in Southeast Asia. The Battle of Imphal is remembered today as one of the greatest victories of the British and Indian forces during World War II. It stands as a testament to the bravery, resilience, and strategic acumen of the Allied troops who fought under extraordinarily challenging conditions to defend their positions and turn the tide of the Burma campaign. The legacy of the battle is commemorated in various memorials and historical studies, serving as a reminder of the sacrifices made by those who fought and the pivotal role of the battle in the broader context of the war.